Everyone for joining us. We really appreciate you taking time off your busy schedules to join us today. So without further ado, I'm just going to hand over to Mr. Daniels, who will start his address.
Thank you, Rochelle. Thank you, colleagues. Welcome to all the media, the journalists present. I think it's only appropriate. I've got my management team with me, senior people in the organization. To my left, I've got Dr. Gavin Isaacs. I've got to my right, Professor Rasid Small. To my far right is Carl Smith. He's a senior training and education and training and membership manager. Professor Rasid Small is the head of thought leadership of the organization in education. Dr. Gavin Isaacs is the head of operations. And on the Zoom session, I have Faith Ngwenya, who's head of technical and standards in the organization. So colleagues, welcome. I'm gonna break down my presentation to you in a few points. But let me start off with a background. SAIPA, South African Institute of Professional Accountants, have a proud history in its 38 years of existence. It has rapidly evolved to be one of the foremost professional accountancy bodies in Africa and further afield, and has played an ever more important role in the development and the defining of the future of the local and international profession. SAIPA is also one of the founder members of the Pan-African Federation of Accountants, and is also one of the big 5 professional accountancy bodies on the African continent. It's also a full member of the International Federation of Accountants, which is the mother body of the global accountancy profession. Just a brief outline in terms of why this media briefing. But I also want to start off what is most relevant to us today is the impact of COVID-19, and the challenges that it brought with us is the what and the how is needed in terms of to respond to the economic challenges and demands in society. This current pandemic has resulted in many job losses, and businesses have revealed even more so the critical role of which accountants play in the economy for its survival. While many businesses are navigating through ways of operating operating, the professional accountant will steer businesses to ensure a future sustainable success. SAIPA intends to fundamentally reshape the accountancy profession in terms of how it is perceived, how it will evolve, and how it will further develop. The intention is to be future focused in order to be future ready. We have started thinking differently about what accountancy is and what is needed in this world that is marked by an advanced technological capabilities and extreme socio-economic conditions. The South African Institute of Professional Accountants, SAIPA, is a future-ready professional accountancy organization for inclusive prosperity. And inclusive prosperity means it's not limited just to accounting or accountancy. It serves the public interests by enhancing the relevance, the reputation, as well as the ethical value of its members, which are known as Professional Accountants SA. It has a set core of values, only 3: professionalism, integrity, and excellence. And this will guide us to our endeavors towards the realization of the fabric of the organization. So the accountancy profession has been image has been tarnished over the last number of years in terms of its ethical behavior, conduct, and corruption. And I want to start with this whole ethical dilemma which the profession is experiencing going forward. The objective is that we as SAIPA is to regain the public trust. So, across the world and locally, there's an even stronger call for the accountancy profession to step up and to be seen the flag bearer of ethical behavior. Unfortunately, certain individuals within the profession have dropped the ball and brought the profession into disrepute. Ethical conduct by these individuals have placed the profession under the microscope, especially with regards to its independence, its performance, and the quality of work. Professional accountancy bodies in general must ensure that they have effective policies and adequate infrastructure with regards to its professional conduct committees and infrastructure. And that's include investigations, disciplinary, etc. However, it's important that this infrastructure must deal with this unethical behavior or any reports of unethical behavior timeously. Because this is one of the challenges which the market and society is holding us to account. It is critical that ethics and ethical behavior is continuously reinforced through regular training and awareness and hold our members accountable. 2020 marked the 18th year since Arthur Andersen was found guilty of misrepresentation with regards to Enron. Subsequently, there was the WorldComs, the Parmalats, the Masterbond, locally, and LeisureNet. However, the corporate governance value chain within the accountancy profession is not individualistic. It's a collective responsibility. It is inclusive of management of the organization, the board of directors, the internal assurance providers such as the internal audit, the audit committee, and then obviously the external audit. The entire value chain is a collective responsibility of what is happening in an organization. Adding additional regulation to existing regulation has proven to be ineffective. SAIPA have made ethics as a subject matter and a course as compulsory to be part of its continuous professional development program, CPD, which is recently aligned to the South African Qualifications Authority for all professional bodies in terms of the accreditation criteria, that ethics must be on a compulsory discipline on the CPD program. In addition, SAIPA's members, the Professional Accountant SA, annually signed an ethical pledge to confirm the ethical conduct and behavior. So, one big part of the unethical behavior and corruption in society and within companies is part of tax compliance. And I want to stand still just for a minute or so on tax compliance. So tax morality is very high on the SAIPA agenda, including its members. Thus, the onus is of assisting, advising, and guiding taxpayers to comply to legislation and avoid violating the law, which is crucial in supporting the fiscus. The public, or any taxpayer for that matter, being it an individual or corporate, should always do background checks on the prospective accountant or tax practitioner or business advisor, and always ask the person that if he is a member of a recognized, accredited professional body. They should go even further to confirm with the professional body that the person who holds himself out as the tax practitioner, that he is indeed a member of good standing of that body. The South African Revenue Services have recently reported there's a number of ghost tax practitioners who create e-filing profiles for the taxpayers and filing their tax themselves, which is totally an unethical behavior. It is in contrary and violation of the SAIPA Code of Conduct. The professional accountant SA, as a tax practitioner, have the necessary expertise, skills, experience, and competencies to serve its clients and its employers as taxpayers effectively, efficiently with regards to tax compliance. The other buzzword for the last 2 years in society and in business is this whole concept of fourth industrial revolution. So this radical transformation of the profession, how do we see it shaping into this fourth industrial revolution which we find ourselves? So the fourth industrial revolution and the accompanying digital revolution, inspired by machine and deep learning, is rapidly and diametrically changing every aspect of our world, which includes the accountancy profession. 4IR, as it's known, is going to leave the accountancy profession a total different place, a total different industry. We have already tasted a small taste of what's happened during COVID-19, where if organizations is not prepared, digitally prepared, they found themselves with a huge challenge. SAIPA will ensure that its members rapidly transition from merely performing mechanical and repetitive tasks to become value creators and to be seen as trusted strategic business advisors, both to its clients and employers. SAIPA views the professional accountant SA as the fusion of the human being together with digital revolution to render value creation services for effective and ethical decision making. The professional accountant will stop doing things differently. Professional accountants will do things differently. Will do different things. I'm going to repeat that. Professional accountants will stop doing things differently. Professional accountants SA will do different things. This means that the value proposition and service offering of the SAIPA member is to expand into auxiliary services that will help clients and employers to derive greater value using accounting data. In some cases, this will mean integrating accounting information with complementary data from other systems or infrastructures to enhance the total business value. It also means that it is being required that as professional accountants SA, that we need new competencies such as digital proficiency, critical thinking, strategic assessments of business development initiatives. So, what have we been doing at SAIPA? How are we going to do these things with regard to the education system? Let me first start to say, with respect to the accountancy profession, there's a need to be radically changing the education system in South Africa, both from a secondary and tertiary level. The current curricula and means of instruction will need to be radically revised to ensure that it takes cognizance of no one-size-fits-all, and that the professional accountancy standards which we are used to must be applied within context, and it must also take into account the massive impact of the digital revolution that is having on the profession. SAIPA views the new trend towards education as online learning, with greater emphasis moving from just learning the technical knowledge and competencies to the application of critical thinking skills. The profession needs to leverage with this digital revolution, including artificial intelligence, and embrace automation. SAIPA is developing an educational roadmap and curriculum that will embrace data science, data analytics, as well as digital proficiency as essential competencies to become part of its core services within the accountancy profession. Further to this, SAIPA have established a Center of Future Excellence known as COFE, C-O-F-E, with a vision that stretches beyond the 4IR and to ensure that its competency framework is aligned to the increased digital world. This Center of Future Excellence will be launched in the near future. Our international mother body, IFAC, acknowledges that the small-medium practitioner within the accountancy profession provides business advisory services in serving the small-medium enterprise sector of the economy, and the SMPs, as we are known, the small-medium practitioners will create a value creation through integrated thinking. To this end, SAIPA have also established a Center of Business Advisory, where there is non-accountants with the appropriate qualifications, expertise, and as well as meeting the necessary criteria and requirements, who can become now members of SAIPA as an affiliate membership. The professional accountant SA of tomorrow will emerge from an education system that is made future ready today. They will become creative problem solvers who seize technology, digital business processes, and data analytics as a seamless extension of their capabilities and competencies. SAIPA have also strengthened its National Accounting and Maths Olympiad to ensure that the flow of school leavers shift from memorization to cognitive development. We also have our own program, which is known as Project Achiever, have received much attention as a positive catalyst in preparing our candidates for the professional evaluation exam, but also for its lasting effects on the broader proficiencies and soft skills. Our CPD program incorporates ethics and digital proficiency as part of our annual mandatory program, which is core of the competencies for the members to remain in good standing. We also, in the process of developing another program, which is known as the upskilling and reskilling of its existing members, meaning those who are members of the Institute already, because it is important that those members need to be fully capacitated in order to carry out the mandate what is expected of them. That is also work in progress, and the details of that will also be made known in due course. I'm going to conclude that the impact of this new landscape where we vision the accountancy profession, that we believe that the future-ready, digitally superior professional accountant SA will offer substantive value to businesses at all levels. It will also provide incredible value and integrate into more area of business than before. It is our expressed aim that its members, SAIPA's members as professional accountants SA will further contribute to the sustainable economic growth of the South African economy. Therefore, SAIPA initiates initiations are critical in ensuring that the accountancy profession is readily prepared for the digital-driven future. They will also enable to evolve its value proposition and service offering for demands in business and society by creating value. I thank you. I'll take some questions, comments from the journalist. I think it's Thomas. How are we going to deal with the journalist online? I've been informed that you have given access. You can unmute yourself or possibly first raise your hand for any further questions. Either myself and or my team will be able to answer. The name again? What's all?
Thank you so much. Thank you for that. I think from everything that you said, which was so relevant to what we're going through right now as a country, and what the profession is going through, I wanted to find out that we've been hearing for quite a bit now from the past 2 years or so, with the events from Steinhoff and a couple of other events that we saw that implicated you know, the profession. It had been popping up in Parliament that a lot of our so the NPA and our institutions of that nature are not capacitated with enough accountants, forensic auditors as well. I just wanted to find out what the role of SAIPA, what you believe the role of SAIPA is to the country in terms of public responsibility, in ensuring that there is compliance, in ensuring that our people don't lose money like we saw in BBS. What is the role of the Institute, according to you, to the South African people?
Should we put something on that?
Yes, I think just in terms of addressing the public accountability, in terms of
I just want to move my recorder closer to you.
Just in terms of the public accountability and SAIPA's responsibility in that respect. What we are doing, it's not only in South Africa, but also globally, we are heavily engaged in driving the professionalization of the public sector. And that involves incapacitating the existing employees who are supposed to carry out these responsibilities so that they can do it more efficiently and effectively. So it's a fast tracking program, but it's also to ensure that they will have the necessary skills and competence to identify red flags for fraud, for corruption, but also to ensure that there is compliance and protection of the public interest. And within the program that we included is not only public financial management, we coined the term now to say public value management. So we're trying to contribute value to them in terms of ensuring that there will be capacity within those particular government structures to ensure that people and the public are protected in terms of ensuring that the funding is used for the purposes that they should be used, rather than allowing for unauthorized, fruitless and wasteful expenditure. So that's in the public sector that we're doing. But also we're busy developing a competency framework for public sector specific, which is not only focusing on the accounting aspects, but also we in conjunction with the ACFE, which are forensic examiners, we are in the process of developing a program which will therefore ensure that no one can act as a forensic accountant if they don't have the necessary competencies of both being an accountant as well as a forensic examiner. So yes, we are doing significant strides in terms of trying to protect the public interest.
Londiwe, you can unmute yourself.
Thank you. My first question just relates to the fact that you mentioned that, you know, adding additional regulation on top of the existing regulation hasn't been effective. And I mean, I speak to the EBA and SAIPA a lot, and it seems that where really the challenge lies for them is that it doesn't matter what professional bodies are doing, disciplining members and having these ethic courses, but because law enforcement, what their findings are not used in enforcing the law. So it ends up being a process where they do their own thing, but then the NPA will have to start from scratch. So I just want to get a sense of how can professional bodies better work with the law enforcement, when these things arise, so that it's not just about we've got to strengthen the ethics, but it's about we will hold you accountable in terms of criminal law if needed, if you transgress our rules. And then the second question that I have is just about, just forgive me, I'm scrolling down my notes here. Okay, it's completely skipped my mind. I don't know where I put it. I'll raise my hand later on. Thank you.
Thank you, Londiwe. Let me start off what I've said earlier, and I want to elaborate slightly on it. Yes, you're right. It's not only about strengthening ethics. It is important that we as professional bodies, we are non-statutory. We are not governed by an act of parliament. We should ensure the awareness and the continuous engagement with our members in terms of the ethical behavior, in terms of how they hold themselves out as a professional accountant SA. That's the first step that needs to be done. The second step, additional regulation is not going to much help on the individual. Additional regulation, in my opinion, is to hold the professional bodies accountable. Is what I call in regulation, and from my experience, there's external regulation, which is an act of parliament. There's self-regulation, which is the professional bodies, and then there's a hybrid between the two, which is saying self-regulation with external oversight, where the professional bodies are being held accountable and is being regulated in terms of its infrastructure, what it's doing, and how it self-regulates its members. That for me will assist in terms of the ethical behavior and conduct of its members. How to assist the regulatory or the government authorities in terms of holding its the professional bodies members accountable. That is an initiative which we need to work with the respective authorities in order to say what is expected of us and what they expect from us. We are, as an accounting body, comply to the International Ethics Standards code, which is from IFAC, and we implement that, and we've got, in additional to that, our own infrastructure, and I hold our members accountable to that. The unfortunate part of unethical behavior is only being tracked after the event. So the question that we should ask ourselves, is there any proactiveness which professional bodies can do? And the only proactiveness that we can do, and we are welcome to suggestions from whomever, as long as it comply to our own infrastructure and our compliances to our international mother body, to assist us to say what we can do more in terms of holding our members accountable proactively. My colleague, Professor Rashid, just remind me that accreditation for SAIPA to become a professional body, that SAIPA should consider enhancing its disciplinary processes with regards to the self-regulatory enforcement. Only then we will most probably have professional bodies being able to proactively hold its members accountable. We've also similar like what IRBA is doing, where we will introduce, also in due course is part, that we will have a compulsory practice evaluation of our members in terms of the quality assurance model to ensure that our members is up to date with its CPD program. Its practice infrastructure is meeting the requirements that is expected of as a member of SAIPA as a professional accountant SA, and that is work in progress, which we will enhance. That is part of the proactiveness in order to ensure our members is compliant. My colleague Faith would like to add to this, and I'm going to allow Faith, unmute yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. Good afternoon, colleagues. Just to add on what can the professional bodies do, I think what is also critical is that there needs to be somebody that is going to hold the government to account. And one of the reasons I say this, it's because legislation that is out there, it is there and it is good legislation. However, if there is no implementation of these regulations and there is also no policing of the regulations, then we are sitting with the situation that we have currently, where we have got corruption that has gone out of control, and therefore that is one of the roles that can be played by professional bodies as a whole, which is to hold the government to account and also hold them to enforce what is sitting in those regulations. At the moment, it is very difficult to actually do that, as Mr. Daniels has just indicated, that we are self-regulating. So we regulate our members, and sometimes it is very difficult to actually get self-regulated entities to influence what government is doing. But I think the more we actually push for accountability, and also the government ensuring that there is enforcement of the regulations, enforcement of everything when it's there, and it should apply to everyone, not selectively. Thanks, Mr. Daniels.
Thank you, Faith. Any other further comments, questions?
So maybe can you just go further into your relationship currently that you have with governments, government organizations such as SIU, which we know use accountants quite a bit. Do you have a relationship in any way? Can you just explain?
We don't have a direct relationship with any of those authorities at all. But as Professor Small has said, we have a program, which is a 3-year program funded by ASITA to capacitate the public sector. It's a national treasury in 2 provinces in order that, which we feel is part of our responsibility to assist government in the public sector to ensure that the staff, the capacity in the public sector have the necessary competencies and skills in order to deliver at the public sector. But with the law enforcement authorities like BORGS, NPA, and we don't have a relationship. However, there is a forum, which is a collective of professional bodies that, Faith, if you want to, is the name of the forum. Faith will give you the name of the forum, where we have established the Risk Institute of South Africa, or the Institute of Risk Management, have established a relationship for and on behalf of those professional bodies with the SIU. The details is we work through it with the Risk Management Institute, but it is being driven by the Institute of Risk Management. Yeah, Anti-Intimidation Ethical Practices Forum. Okay. It's a voluntary forum by only a few professional bodies, which is us, Risk Management, Institute of Directors, ACFE, and a few others. Okay. Londiwe?
Thank you. I remembered my second question. You spoke a lot about, capacitating the public sector, but I didn't hear much about the private sector, because I mean, these incidents are not really only isolated in the public sector. If anything, I think we've seen that the scale, or when it happens in the private sector, it is at a much bigger scale, even if it is fewer people. So are you getting involved in any way in just capacity, increasing the capacity for forensic, or is that something that you leave to each company to do? Thank you.
Okay. It is by virtue in most professional bodies that its members is serving in public sector, sorry, in the private sector, and or serving in public practice for own account. So the bulk of its members is already operating in the private sector. And we felt just a responsibility towards the public sector that we engage with National Treasury to see how we can contribute towards that. But Rashid, you want to add? Just talk about this public sector and versus the private sector.
Now, I think what's happening is, in terms of Mr. Daniels spoke about the reviews which you're conducting on our members, and like Erba, they focus mainly on your practices, which is your big firms and your audit firms. What we are doing in terms of that particular strategy is that we're going to do it on all our members, irrespective of where they are working and what services they are rendering. And therefore, we will definitely include our review as part of the people working in corporates, and also for companies, together with people working in the public sector, as well as those working for government institutions. So our review is going to encompass a much broader net in terms of trying to ensure that we have quality and responsible accounting to protect the interests of the public.
Hello.
Yes, it was Edward.
Yes, Edward. I was just wondering, some of the problems in the private sector have occurred over a number of years, like more than 5 years, right, in the firm. And the firm sizes are very big, so they must have involved teams of auditors and accountants, young ones, doing all these things. How does it happen that these huge frauds go unnoticed with such professional manpower available?
Edward, I assume you refer to the audit firms, the big firms who are massive, and they've trained youngsters coming through the ranks. I think it's important. It's important. I'm going to have to answer you twofold. I think, and I've just did an interview with a person who's doing a dissertation for a PhD studies on the auditing profession. And one of my comments is it's important that we as a profession need to educate the public, include the media, and anybody else to understand what is an audit. An audit is not there to detect fraud or go and look for fraud or any irregularities. It is by virtue of the work that is being done that a detection or an identification it's there. But you end up with these corporates who have complex systems which is sometimes not part of your sample size in an audit environment, that you will not detect it. Linked to that is not only the assurer, the audit is the assurer. We need to look at the preparer, which is the CFO, the FD, and the financial manager. What happened there? Accountability is there. I know a few years ago, government have tried to say that throughout its entities in the public sector, that the top 6 must be members of professional bodies. Now, most of the senior people in these corporates are members of either these professional accountancy bodies, and it is their responsibility to be held accountable. And as I said, those are unfortunately is only being detected if there's irregularities after the event. Want to add something to that point, Rashid?
Yes, I think just according to what Mr. Daniels said, what we're also really looking at is strengthening the training process within the capacitization of the candidates and what, or trainees. And what that is, that ethics is no longer being taught or presented as a standalone unit, but it's embedded in all programs in terms of training, and therefore it will become primary in how people will graduate, but also in terms of what their responsibility would be in terms of ensuring that all the fraud and corruption which you mentioned as a holistic team, which Mr. Daniels said, it's not only the auditors, but it's from the bottom right up, which are collectively accountable within any organization. And in terms of that, we are then also ensuring that we are focusing more on the ethical responsibility and the public interest throughout the training programs that we are implementing and designing that will be implemented in future years.
Does anyone else have any other questions at this time?
I would like to welcome you if you've got any other further questions which didn't come to mind now, to engage either with Stephanie, which is part of the our PR company, or directly to Rochelle, and we shall gladly respond to anything that you might have. I wish to thank all of you for being here and for the time taken to coming to this media briefing, and I thank you very much. Thank you.